What's going on, FloCombaters? This is your man, Obo Cephas, Duane Finley, here with the big glow, the big calico, Hunter Homistek, here for another day on the morning, afternoon, evening, everyday update on FloCombat. So, the only thing we have to talk about this week, the only thing that matters in FloCombat world is the biggest grappling match crossover with MMA that either sport's ever seen. We have Jon Jones, light heavyweight phenom, you know who he is, versus the MMA legend Dan Henderson, going head-to-head in a matchup 4 years in the making at Submission Underground 2 this Sunday in Portland, Oregon. I got to ask Hunter, it looks like you can barely contain yourself. You look like you are, you feel it's electric. I know that's a hard thing to bounce back from, but
it's so hard, man. You go full Casey on me. Casey, if you guys didn't quite pick up on what Bo was doing there, Casey's our play-by-play guy for Valor Fights on FloCombat, and he is seriously the greatest play-by-play commentator in my opinion. He makes me excited about the littlest things. Like I'm watching these fights, and I'm like frothing at the mouth, waiting on him to get him. And dude, the terminology and everything. What makes Casey great is that he is a legit beast, striking and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And he is like Joe Rogan and Goldie and like all of them mixed into one because he knows exactly what he's talking about technically, but then he'll fire off with just that pure unbridled excitement as well. It's incredible, man. So Bo just hit me with the Casey, which he knows is a personal favorite of mine. So he went for the kill shot there, knowing what he was doing. But Jones and Henderson, of course.
I had to set it here, man. I had to set it at 11 to get you going.
You did. You really ramped the electricity. Can you feel it? Anyway.
Can you feel it?
Jones and Hendo, I said it before and I'll say it 1,000 times, dude. I would watch a live stream of Jon Jones eating an apple. Like, everything Jon Jones does, he, to me, is the greatest fighter of all time, and I honestly don't even think it's close. When I was watching him, I mean, I got into the sport late-ish, like around the Randy Couture and Tim Sylvia fight, Chuck and Tito Part 2. Like, that's kind of when I started following MMA, so I wasn't one of the Pride, early days, Shudo and all that, early adopters. So for me, Jon Jones was the first guy that I saw that I was like, this dude's on a different planet. Like, I remember the Stephan Bonner fight and just being like, what is this kid? Like, what is this guy doing? He's just throwing men around. So Jon Jones, to me, kind of is that guy for MMA who just transcended the sport real early. And I was like, this dude just ain't right. Like, something about him ain't right. He's just doing things that shouldn't be done. So for Submission Underground, going against Dan Henderson, a guy who even when you think he's outmatched, when you think Dan Henderson should be done, he's never done. Like, I've thought Dan Henderson was done 4 years ago, and he just keeps going, keeps impressing, keeps landing that H-bomb. Of course, there's not going to be any punches thrown at Submission Underground, but to write Dan Henderson off in anything, I'm done. I'm done writing Dan Henderson off. So on paper, my initial reaction is that Jon Jones is going to go in there, throw him on his head, and submit him quick. But I know that's not what Dan Henderson does. It's not going to happen with Dan Henderson. So that alone makes me like, no, I got no idea what's going to happen. It reminds me a lot of one that you like, Bo, Shields and Lytle, where on paper, Jake Shields is the way more distinguished grappler, way more experience in that realm, should have just taken him to town, but Lytle does not quit, and he cannot be stopped. So what's going to happen? I don't know, man. That's why we're going to watch Sunday. I love it.
What I love about it is you take those two athletes and they're great mixed martial arts fighters, but then you take away their two biggest weapons. For Henderson, that's the H-bomb. Without the H-bomb, Dan Henderson has to wrestle, which we all know he has an extraordinary wrestling pedigree. We haven't really seen him have to use a lot. That'll be his only option here. So I'm excited for that. And then with Jon Jones, you're taking away his ground and pound. Jon has a mauling, presence when he's on the ground. You get that dude on top of you, it's over. Those elbows come, and it's just nasty. So he won't be able to use his ground and pound. So it's going to be different. How will these extraordinary athletes do when their two biggest weapons are taken away from them? So will the heart of Henderson kick in at an even higher gear? And will the competitiveness of Jones, that refused to lose mentality that we saw against Gustafsson, come firing in? That's what this is all about. And I think that's what a lot of MMA fans are getting onto. Yeah, it'd be easy to say these two guys aren't fighting, but they're fighters. But it's not about that. It's about this is determination. And I'm going to reference the match you just said with Lytle and Shields. You can watch that fight. You can be a purist. You can be whatever you want, MMA or grappling. You cannot watch that matchup and be like, damn, those two boys done did it. They gave everything they had. They were exhausted. It was perfect. So I think this is what we're going to see here this weekend in Portland. And I know, I'm excited. You know, the energy levels are oxendine-ish.
I love that that's going to become its own term. That should definitely be an official term now. I love it.
Well, we will make sure it is. You will make sure that you make sure that you come back here. That's a lower thirds right there. You're going to get me. But I can't help it when I mess up. I know it's coming now. I know it's coming. Nurmagomedov, Chupacabra. So you guys stick to with us, FloCombaters, every day this week leading up to Portland. We'll have great coverage from the PDX. This is Obo, and this is the Big Low, and we out.